Well, hello and welcome to Manifest This Believer versus Skeptic. We're here today with Jennifer and myself, and we're looking forward to having a discussion about, do we actually deserve it? Manifestation and self worth. Hi, Jennifer. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you.
Good. Good. Anything exciting happen in the last week? Any free?
No, and I'm gonna start making some confessions because things are not sort of going the way I think they ought to, but perhaps that's part of the problem is I'm doing so much thinking. So as we get through this, maybe we can have that discussion.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the last week's experiment I think was, manifesting something that just feels out of reach. And it's one of those things where maybe I'm fortunate, but I actually can't think of what I want to manifest sometimes. So I think because I'm not coming up with something fantastic, then I'm not really committed or dedicated to that.
Okay. Well, I would say there's two things there. Well, there's a lot there. The first is if you don't know what you want, you'll never see it and you'll never get it, which is why vision boarding, sitting down, writing lists of, even if you can't wrap your head around what you really think you want, but you can wrap your head around a statement like, for example, I use this for a long time, prompts like, wouldn't it be great if? Wouldn't it blow my mind if? So prompts like that can really help you get your head around things that you can't get. So you can't get to the point where you can say, I want that right now, but you can allow yourself to say, that would be a real giggle if XYZ happened. So bottom line, if you don't know what it is, universe has no clue. It's like I said to Darwin yesterday, we're in Panama. We're looking at parts of the country and neighborhoods that down the road we might like to retire in someday. And I said to Dar, manifesting with the universe is like going to a real estate agent and saying to them, we're looking for a house in Panama. And when the real estate agent says, can you break that down a little bit for me? How many bedrooms? What part of the country? Do you want a fireplace? And you say, no, anything suits. He cannot help you because it's far too vague and it leaves open way too much options. You have to get clear on what you want. So that's number one. Number two is if the thing you are asking for feels icky in your body, or you're, as much as you're saying, I want this, you're also saying, that'll never happen. Or how's that going to happen? Or how am I going to get the money for that to happen? That is absolutely blocking the thing that you actually said you wanted.
So when you say it's blocking, how does that blocking actually happen?
Because there's a big piece around getting what you want in life, around just being deserving of it. So I'll give you a tiny example. There are people in all of our lives that say they want something, even if it's something like, I wish I could be more noticed. I wish it wasn't always my job. I wish that I could get some help. Those are their wishes. And yet, when you give them a compliment, they say, thanks, but I didn't really do the work. Or thanks, but I don't really deserve that. She does. Or thanks, but I am not deserving of your compliment. When you block, that is a block. And then that same person will turn around and go, yeah, but nothing good ever happens to me. It's always me. I never get any help. Because the goodness that the universe is trying to give you through another person, maybe, you're blocking it. We don't
So
realize we're doing it. We don't realize
yeah,
we're doing
so I can appreciate this on a couple of levels. And one level is not feeling like you deserve it because maybe you feel like you have enough, or feeling like you aren't worthy, as you're mentioning, or feeling like if that's what you ask for, there's an element of arrogance to it.
Say more on that, arrogance.
Well, again, perhaps it comes back to, I have enough. And I think we've discussed this before, right? Like, I don't want to ask for more and take away from someone else, or kind of being a little bit arrogant about the whole thing. Um, it's sort of like when people give other people compliments, as you were mentioning. There's that self-deprecation. I don't know if it's a Canadian thing, but there's that self-deprecation that rolls in, like, I don't want to be the tall poppy.
Right. So, I mean, you attract what you believe you deserve. And so if I don't believe I deserve the compliment, it's as simple as a compliment. Good luck getting more than a compliment. And you want more things because you say it all the time. And it could be, just as I've mentioned, it could be help around the house. It could be a lover that really respects you. It could be getting out of debt. But when you're pushing away the tiny little things you're getting, the universe won't send you more because they don't think you can handle it. And Deepak
Right.
Chopra, one of the greatest masters in manifestation, you know, he's got a wonderful 21-day Creating Abundance podcast. It's free. I highly recommend it. It's a meditation series. In the very first episode of that meditation series, he actually answers the question, what is abundance? And his answer is that it is the experience where all of our needs are easily met and all of our desires are spontaneously fulfilled. And that means health, happiness, sense of purpose, vitality, overflowing fullness that affects every facet of your life. But for some reason, you don't feel that's for everybody else, but it's not for you.
So expand on that piece, because I think we've had discussions around self-worth before, and you mentioned a book that you really love. So expand on how we block ourselves um, historically in self-worth. Does it come out of childhood? Does it come out of trauma? Where does that lack of self-worth come from?
I mean, I don't know the answer for every single individual person on this planet, but we do set a limit. We set a limit sometimes on what we believe we're worthy of and what we believe we can have access to. And I'll give you an example. Sometimes these limits come out of the best meaning places. I was telling you a story, I think last week, about how it's finally dawned on me that the reason sometimes I'm 56 now, my children are grown, I have the opportunity now to travel a lot, and I have been. But at the deep, dark pit of my stomach, something hasn't sit right with me. It's a feeling in my body. So I've really tried to figure out where that's come from. Where it comes from is my real homesteading mother that raised me in a very at-home DIY environment. It was gorgeous. It was lovely. It was white picket fence, but it also revolved around the house all the time. And so I wasn't raised to believe that travel was something a mother did. Mothers stay at home. And so for the longest time, as I've been traveling over the last 4 years, I've had this sense of doom. But it's because of my receiving limit. And it is not made by anyone. It's self-made. I declared it on myself. I put a ceiling on what I thought I was allowed to do and what I felt I deserved. And so you'll sabotage that. I'll say, no, I can't go on that trip. I just said to you, Sharon, I can't go to Japan with you, didn't I?
Yep.
Right? I had an opportunity to go on an almost all paid trip to Japan. And I said, no, I'm delaying it. It's because of my receiving limit. It's because of the way I was raised. And I was raised pretty darn good. So it's those self-limiting beliefs. Sometimes I think we don't know what that means. That's what it means. What belief are you holding that is limiting you from all the things you say you want? Does that make sense?
It does. And oftentimes we have these self limiting beliefs because we're getting something out of it.
For
We
sure.
limit ourselves because there's something, perhaps because it's more comfortable to be within the limit
It is.
than it is to expand out of it. You know me in terms of having come halfway around the world and done something absolutely most people think is crazy.
Hmm.
But I'm someone who likes to live in finding where the fear is and just barreling in head first. Doesn't always work out, but and I think part of our discussion last week was the idea that we feel safe in our limits because we're comfortable in that easy discomfort, but we
Absolutely.
have a fear of what it might be if we do something different because we think that discomfort's going to be bigger.
Yeah. Like, think about just in the example we both gave. What will your parents think if you leave Canada and move to Malaysia? What will my family think if I'm always on the road, if I'm always exploring the world? It's so much easier to stay at home, even though you know it's not what you really want. And we've got one life and it's really short,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
not easy. Getting everything you want in life isn't easy always. And it doesn't come by sitting on the couch. You've got to take action and you've got to do some things.
So, what kind of things do you typically recommend doing or do yourself that helps you move into some type of breaking of this limit?
So, I mean, listen, this has been a lot of work for me. It's been decades of work for me breaking out of these patterns and these programs and these belief systems that I was raised with, which again, they're great. They're great systems, but sometimes they can be very, um, they can be very limiting. Uh, I believe I've read my way out of some of these limiting beliefs. A great book that I've mentioned before is by Nancy Levin, and it's called Worthy: How Your Self Worth Reflects Your Net Worth. And another really great book is Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life. And Louise Hay, like a lot of people are going to read that book and go, this is woo. She talks about doing a lot of mirror work. Um, One of the affirmations that I have in my phone programmed at 9 a.m. and at 5 p.m., there's another hack for you. Program words into your phone that you want to be reminded of all the time. I have programmed into my phone, I approve of myself. I approve of myself. And so whenever I'm buying a ticket or doing something that's really stepping into the thing that I said I wanted to do, but I'm feeling that pullback, you can't do this, Jennifer. They won't like this, Jennifer. That's not what we do in the Neal family, Jennifer. I say to myself, I don't need their approval because I approve of myself.
So, it sounds like in some respects you're giving yourself permission to step out of the framework that you've been brought up with or the environment that you live in.
100%. You have to give yourself permission sometimes to do that. And there's 1,000 ways to do that. Google it. How can I teach myself to give myself permission to do something that feels a little uncomfortable? But that's a really good one. And I have used my cell phone as a tool for a long time around things I'm trying to reprogram my subconscious around. 9 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock at night, and sometimes before bed. And I set it as a reminder and it pops up on my phone and I go, oh, there it is again. Yeah, I do approve of myself.
So, let's look at the flip side of that, and that is the discomfort of moving yourself away from those environments or that person that you typically were. To what extent do you see there's then criticism, resistance, people looking at you sideways because you're quote unquote changing?
Yeah, happens all the time. Happens all the time.
So, how do you
Um,
deal with that?
The honest answer is sometimes it's not easy. And I'll give you another example. Um, I have some beautiful gold bracelets, and I love to wear them all the time, all of them at once. I'm so glad that the maximalist style is in because I never was a minimalist. Anyway, and even giving myself permission to do that, sometimes I look at other women's jewelry and I go, well, that looks elegant and that is beautiful and that's so dainty. I'm not dainty. When am I going to finally realize I am not dainty? I love lots. And so I wear
Mhm.
them all at the same time. And, uh, and there are some people in my life that look at it and go, you wear that all the time? And I said, yeah, all the time. Uh huh. You wear that to bed? Sometimes. And if I do take it off, I put it right back on in the morning because I love it and it makes me feel good. But those comments made me in my head go, well, maybe I shouldn't. Is this wrong? Oh, maybe this looks too flashy or whatever. I don't care anymore. I It's bothering you more than it's bothering me. But those moments of second guessing and of sideways, side eyes comments, they're hard sometimes.
So, how do you, knowing that you've been on the receiving end of them and doing the work that you do now, do you react to people differently in terms of how you judge?
Yes. Oh, how I judge? That's not what I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say how you receive. Um,
No, I'm going the
okay.
other way.
Yes, I do. I do. Because listen, we're all human beings, and I believe that we love to chirp a little bit and we love to pick a little bit. And so it still comes into my head, oh boy, what is she doing? But I don't say anything anymore because I'm able to now take a minute and realize, who are you, Jennifer, to judge anybody for anything? Leave it alone and just love them and realize that that is unique to them. But again, it's all around that word awareness. If you're unaware of your patterns, whether it's judgment or whether it's limiting beliefs, you're not going to get very far. But yeah, I have judged for sure. We all do. It's
Mhm.
catching yourself that is the key.
So let's go back then to what you think I was going to say.
Well, what I thought you were going to say was, and remind me to come back to where I tend to judge the most. But what I thought you were going to say is, has it changed the way you respond to people that you know are judging you right in front of your face?
Okay.
And it has. And I'll tell you what I do. And I probably shouldn't do this, and probably not a proud moment. But now I play into it now because if I know it bugs them, I will. I'll play it up even more. Like, don't you love it? Isn't it great? Don't you like? Come on, isn't this awesome? But again, it took me a long time to get there because prior to that, I was like going home and taking it all off, right? When are we going to let people be people? When are we going to let people just do what they love and wear what they love and say what they want and, not say what they want being offensive, but when are we going to leave people alone?
It sounds like, that it's owning it piece. And I think, I'm just about 59. We're getting to a point in our lives where we don't have to, or at least I don't feel like there's any show I have to put on. Like I can be who I am. And I always admired those older women who were in their 70s and their 80s who wore those big crazy glasses and all these colors and dyed their hair whatever color they want and just sort of rocked the world and thought, like
I
this
love
is
it.
who I am
Yeah,
finally, right?
I love it and I'm going to wear it, or I love it and I'm going to do it. It is that freedom, you know, freedom. It's freedom.
Hmm. So you wanted me to remind you about the piece where you judge the most.
So where I find I'm super judgy, and I apologize and I'm working on it, is when I see people that don't see the power of their own true abundance in front of them, when they don't see their own unlimited potential, when they don't see that they have a divine right to have absolutely everything they ever could imagine, and that they don't need to seek it, that it is just there for them if they will open up to it, that's when I find I can be quite judgy because
So
I
tell
know the
me how
power.
you judge. How do you judge?
Well, well, maybe judgment's not the right word, but I have a really tough time not trying to fix, which we know we're not supposed to do, but trying to fix the way they think about how it could be, about how they could experience it, their every day, about how they could be getting a giggle a day. Like, I, I have a really tough time now. And again, I have to give everybody credit. I've been doing this for decades and reaping the rewards for decades. I just want everybody to know their power. And so when they don't, I feel sad for them because I want them to know their power because we all have it.
So, I mean, the hilarious thing, right, is that's the entire point of this podcast.
I know.
Because you're coming from a point of understanding how this all works, and I'm coming from the point of being skeptical. I will say I don't necessarily feel judged by you, but I think part of the thing on the other side of it is wondering whether or not the individual on the other side of you has curiosity about it.
And that's the key with anything, right? If you're not curious, then nothing, if you're curious about your health, you'll get better health. If you're curious about weight loss, you'll discover ways to do that. There has to be a point in your life where you do want to make a change, whatever the change is. And you're right. But it's just, that ability to embrace the concept of unlimited abundance. I just wish that's my mission for the rest of my life. I just wish that people knew it could be different. It could be better. It could be blow your mind off the scales. Unbelievably wonderful.
So in some respects, we're talking about the evolution of people, of humans. And as we know, even in nature, everything evolved differently, even within the same species. So sometimes, perhaps, what it is, and I'm going to play armchair psychologist for a moment, is that piece where you see that doing it X or Y way would be a simpler path, but sometimes people just aren't ready. The environment and circumstances aren't around them. The curiosity could be part of it, where they're ready to evolve. Because, I mean, we've had this discussion before, caterpillar to butterfly. There is an evolutionary, or, a metamorphosis stage. And that's the messy pupa in the middle of it, where the caterpillar gets all squishy and weird before it comes out as a butterfly.
Yeah. And that beautiful analogy is so relevant. Well, we all know about it, but it's so relevant because what we don't see going on in that cocoon is where people give up. They don't see change happening fast enough. They don't see things coming to them quickly enough. And so they give up. That's where we need faith and belief in the cocoon. We have to believe that if we can't see it with our eyes, it doesn't mean it's not changing, it's not coming. The orchestrations are underway. And that's where the real work is.
Well, then again, I think it comes back to there's pain in that. And
Mm-hmm.
I think as people, we do everything we can to avoid pain. And sometimes we medicate ourselves through pain in one way or another.
For sure. If we go back to the very beginning though today of our episode talking where we were talking about manifesting something that just feels slightly out of reach,
Hmm.
it's going to be out of reach for a long time until you get your head around the fact that you are deserving. So this is a tough, we probably shouldn't have put this test this soon up in the episodes, because the bigger the thing, the more you feel it's out of reach, the longer it's going to take to get to you.
Right.
The quicker you can get to feeling deserving, to feeling open, to feeling the frequency of the thing you're trying to bring in, the faster it comes to you, right?
So, how do we rewire our brains, our sense of deservingness, in order to get to that place that you are at, in order to get to the place that we are worthy, and, perhaps having the distinction between humble versus pushing things away?
Well, there's 1,000 ways to do this, but I'll tell you a couple of my favorites. We've already talked about one of them. One is I think you call yours your giggle list. Um,
Right.
I call mine my list of miracles. I keep a list in the back of my notebook. I'm looking at it right now. I keep a list of good things that happen to me. And it's as simple as the other day we got out of the car, we parked the car, I got out of the car, I looked down, there was a rolled up American bill at my feet in the parking lot. And I picked it up. I had a feeling it was a 20, but it could have been a $1 bill in America, right? Like it could have been any
Because they're
denomination,
all the same color.
right? And they're all the same color, so I didn't know, but I had a feeling it was a $20 bill and it was folded perfectly. It looked like it was about to be given to someone as a tip. Well, guess what? It was my tip because it was a $20 bill. And I looked up and I said to Dar, money just keeps coming to me because I had been picking up quarters the whole trip. And then I picked up a $20 bill. Look at what I just said, though. Money just keeps coming to me. Not I want money. It just keeps showing up. That's an
Mhm.
affirmation. So affirmations are big. Keeping a list of what I call my miracle list, that's big. Keep a list of the good things that happen in your life. Those two things are huge. So affirmations, some people call these evidence lists. I call mine my list of miracles or my miracles list. And a big one is act as if. So I'm down in Panama looking at real estate, not really knowing if we're ever going to pull the trigger ever, but we're acting like it. We hired a driver the other day to go take us to see a piece of property out on an island. We have no intentions of buying that thing, but it was fun. We went through the motions. That's what people do when they're looking to buy real estate. You act as if it's already here. It's a biggie. I mean, uh, Kathleen Cameron, who is a massive manifestation coach and master, lots and lots of success and lots of audience that follow her. She goes to Santa Monica because she knows she wants to live there. She rents a place. She's got a gym membership there. She doesn't live there yet. She's Canadian. She rents the same place. She goes to the same gym. She goes and gets her smoothie at the smoothie shop that she knows if she lived there, these would be her little haunts. So acting as if is huge.
Mhm. So let me ask you this, because and I'm sure we've got listeners who are just like me. I hate journaling. I don't like writing stuff down. What can I do if that just is not my thing?
Well, I would highly encourage you to get to like journaling. I used to think journalers were, I mean, when in my 20s, I thought if you were journaling, you were weird. I really did. So, boy, if, karma, as they say, is a you know what. Um, the beauty of journaling is it takes all the stuff out of your head and it puts it and it takes it through your body, down your hand, into a pen or onto a keyboard, and even better than a keyboard. And it gets those things out. And you can start processing a lot of information and a lot of um, sticky points, or as we were talking about, ceilings that are stopping you from getting the things you want. So I highly recommend journaling, and I'm never going to say don't do it. But if you can't get there yet, these evidence lists are easy, quick journals. You can even do them on your phone or do them in a note or do them, in a Word document. I highly recommend those. And the thing I mentioned earlier about programming your phone, start to program your phone. You'll feel a little funny. I mean, I've had people in the car when I've got one that just popped up at 8 a.m. that says money just keeps coming to me. And I see it at 9 and I see it at 5. And then I eventually over time you go, oh yeah, money just keeps coming to me. Right. And
Hmm.
if you're in debt and you're worried, it's not a bad thing to start telling yourself that it's coming to an end. If you believe you will get out of this mess, it's only a matter of time. Money is going to come to me. So those are a couple of things that I would recommend.
Okay. So something to play with, I think, over the next week, and see how it works. So I think we're at that point in time where we could talk about the next experiment.
So what I thought might be kind of fun is to put something, I'm going to say down on paper, but you do you. Put something down on paper that you really would like, but you're struggling to even write it out or think about it. So something that is a little larger, that again, you feel for some reason you either feel unworthy or undeserving, or it's never going to happen, or how's that going to happen, or I don't have the money for that to happen. Whatever it is, I want you to put it down on paper. And then I want you to write why it feels weird. What is stopping you from being able to freely write that down and freely write that out? Is it because, I mean, we've been doing it on this trip the whole time. I just wrote down my list of things that I would have to have if I were to retire in in another country. And, you know, I started out by saying, I'm going to have my own car, not a car for the family. I want my own car. And it has to have a pool. And I'd need to have a flight pack so I could go back and forth. I mean, I really started to think through all the things that were limiting me from wanting to do this. For example, seeing my family on a regular basis. Well, if I had a flight pack and every 3 weeks I had a flight home, I'd feel better about that. But then my mind says, yeah, but how are you going to pay for that, Jennifer? That's when I write down, I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm just going to write it out. These are the things I want, right? My own
Okay.
furniture and all those kinds of things. So I want you to write down the desire. I want you to write down why it feels weird or why it feels out of reach. And that's really good stuff to start working on.
Okay. I'll
Okay.
give I'll give that one a shot and see how it goes. One of the things too we talked about last week, and I think we need to put a bit of a focus on perhaps for next week, is the vision board. I think we're building into with some of these experiments and conversations what one might actually start to put on a vision board,
Okay.
and we're almost there. So maybe if we put our minds to next week and have you take us through probably a light version of a vision board, and then maybe we develop something a little bit more complex.
Okay. So I think that's a great idea. We can do a mini exercise on creating maybe it's your first vision board. So I'm going to tell you that it would be awesome if everyone listening could bring their favorite magazine to the next podcast. Bring your favorite magazine. And if you don't have a magazine, which is fine, you can use Pinterest. If you don't have a Pinterest account, maybe get a Pinterest account between now and then. But visuals are really, really powerful and we're going to
Okay.
use them. So if you can bring either a magazine or your vision or your Pinterest account open up, Sharon, let's run through a mini vision board session.
Yeah, you know me, I'm more on the tech side, so
Yep, that's fine.
not a
Pinterest now
paper
this
girl.
well, Pinterest now has this amazing function. I wish I'd thought about it myself, of course, but they now have this amazing function that you can take the things you've pinned and turn them into a collage. So you can actually do a visual, um, digital vision board collage through Pinterest. It's pretty cool.
Well, and then I imagine you could print it if you need to.
For sure. I printed mine
Okay.
and it's one of my screensavers for sure as well.
Great. And so then we'll discuss whether or not vision boards is just cut and paste and daydreaming like a kid.
Oh boy. You know what I'm going to say. Anyway, let's talk about that next week.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks, Jen. It was great to chat with you today. If anybody wants to reach out to us, we're at info@truthanddare.ca, or you can smash that button on your podcast and send us a text. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks, everybody. And we hope you've enjoyed Manifest This. Bye for now.